Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to I'm Calling HR, the December 8th, 2020 version, presented to you by Employeronomics, the PEO Matchmaker, and Caraway HR. And we have a future sponsor with us today. I'd like to welcome our featured guest, Milan Roy of One Source HR and Risk Solutions or Management. Depends on whether you look at his website or his LinkedIn. But that's okay. I guess they're both very related. His website is onesourcehrrisk.com. There's his phone number, 407-998-5010. And he and I are both members of the Employers Resource Group, which is how we know each other and we network with each other and refer clients to each other. How you doing? Good. Welcome. Glad you could join us today, Milan. It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me, John, Willie.
So we've been discussing the 5 questions you wish people would ask you. So we're going to go into those right now. Let's go to the big screen so everybody can see you. The first question I wanted to ask you is, how can you really impact my business, assuming I'm an employer with employees?
It's a great question. And a lot of times employers will look at somebody who claims to have an HR background as somebody that is just going to potentially help them put together a handbook or their policies and procedures, but isn't necessarily thinking of them as a value added or a true partner that's assisting with their people and their processes. And that's really where I can impact the business for a client, helping them make sure they have everybody seated in the right spot, making sure that whatever processes that they have in place are geared for where they are, and more importantly, for where they're going, and that they're positioned in a way that they're protected as much as they can be from any potential litigation. And equally importantly, are they having policies and practices that are conducive to attracting the right talent, retaining the right talent, and keeping them striving to being productive for the company. Because I think that's the real important thing from an HR standpoint. It's not about protection. It's about putting people in the right places to be successful.
You know, that reminds me, when we were talking earlier, you did say that it's not so much just the, preventative or fixing what's broken. It's also preparing for what's ahead. I like that. So you're getting people ready, getting them in the right places like that. So you can be very forward thinking and positive thinking rather than just the negative side of HR. Although we did say that a lot of people don't know what they don't know until they know it. So my question is, let's say I'm a construction company and I have 10 employees. What don't I know that I really need to know?
Well, I would be presumptive to assume if somebody like yourself has successfully had a business in construction for a while and have made it to the point that you're at right now, and haven't had any major issues, I have to say you've done something right. So to run your business. With all of that stated, there is liability, there are workers' comp implications that you have as an employer. From an HR standpoint, are you going to be at 10 people forever? Or because once you hit a threshold of 15 or more, then there are going to be different HR and legal rules that apply to you. Once you get outside of 20 to 25, you're probably going to want to have an employee handbook, and you're going to want to make sure that you have a baseline of policies and procedures that are in place so that you're positioned to really handle things on a macro level, not on a one-off basis. So I would say if you had that company with 10 people in construction, more power to you. I'm sure you've done a great job, but going forward and to make sure you're not putting yourself in harm's way, I think you do need some guidance and direction and making sure that you're covered correctly for workers' comp and then you're positioned in a way, so you probably are looking at putting together a handbook and some policies and procedures, especially if you're going to get any bigger than 10 to 15 or plus.
Yeah, like I see what you're referring to, and I'm starting to get it. Because one thing you said to me in one of our earlier conversations is that one of the first things you need to do with a client is sit down and have a goal session with them. Like, where do they want to go? So positive thinking is like, it's like buying an airline ticket. If you can't walk up to a counter and say, give me an airline ticket, and if they say where to, you got to have an answer. So you really need to know where they're going before you can help them get there, don't you?
That's exactly right. Whenever I'm working with a client, I don't try to come across in a way that's, here's what this particular service costs or this product costs. I want to find out first, what is it that are the major pain points for that particular client? What do they need to have impacted immediately? What do they need to get off of their plate so they can focus on what's really important to them? And then we'll talk in terms of what that's going to look like, what kind of commitment it's going to involve, and then we can talk about what those types of things will cost, because then it's not really a cost or an expense for the client. They're looking at this as a value added, because they're taking away time that they were committing, and now they're able to focus it on driving their business. And I'm able to now assist them with something that they consider to be a major pain point. So I think, to your point, it's very important to really understand the client's immediate needs, not just big picture issues that they have.
Again, that's the best time to get with somebody. I think you and I mentioned, or I think you mentioned, a lot of people want to shut the barn door after the horse is already gone. So they call you in after the fact when you're picking up the pieces, and it would be much better, of course, to have us, the Employers Resource Group, and you come in beforehand and do preventative and do positive planning, which I'm beginning to think we need to do something like the 3 Ps, preventative and positive planning. However, let's go back. Most people think of HR and they think, well, I want protection. I know employees, when they think of HR, like, oh, well, that's what you call when you have a problem. So if somebody says to you, well, we've never had a major issue, why do we need to hire you?
Well, I wouldn't say this to the client, but if they really said that they don't have any problems, then they're not really in tune with their people, because I don't know any company, let alone any family, let alone any person that doesn't have any issues or problems. So I think it goes without saying that they're going to have issues and problems. At that point, they're just not comfortable telling me about them. So I need to help them let their guard down further. But I would say to them, well, I'm glad that you haven't had any major issues at this point. However, there are always challenges, and here are some of the things that you may have happen or that may occur, and I'll give them some thoughts or ideas, and then they may open up and talk to me about what those things are at that point. That way I'm not coming across in a way that's saying, like, you idiot, you definitely do have problems. but I'm offering them, oh, now I get it. Those are things that maybe I do have.
When I'm public speaking, I will ask people, I'll say, would you hold up your hand if you have employees? All of those employees are perfect, keep your hand up. And of course, they all go down. But nobody, they're not all perfect. And usually you get kind of like a laughing, shaking your head, no. So I understand that. And it's true. It's a lot of people have their guard up. They don't want to tell you what's wrong. So I guess you have to develop a relationship, don't you?
For sure.
Trust. Yeah. So then they come up to the next point. But I've had people say this to me. What can you do that I can't do myself?
That's a great question. And I would never tell somebody that I can do something that they can't. What I would say to them is, you could do all of these things. However, if you're running your business I'm assuming that to focus your time and efforts on the most important things that you can impact the business on, which is top line revenue, bottom line savings, then you can't be focused on everything. So what I can do from a people and a process slash HR standpoint is take those things off of your plate. Let me focus on those areas so that you can focus on what's important to driving your business.
And what you and I do is non-productive, non-income producing time. It's not billable time. Say
Correct.
it's overhead. And why do
Right.
you want owners and managers handling overhead when you can hire someone to do it more efficiently?
It's a no-brainer.
Is that true with you too? That's true.
What's that?
That's true with me. It's true with you too, right? That they could hire someone to do it more efficiently. And since they're not getting paid to do it, why not hire somebody who's going to do it more efficiently and cost you less? You can be out, instead of working in your business, you're working on it.
It's definitely true.
So we've seen now, I think I know the answer to this question, that everyone believes that an HR consultant is going to come in and help them avoid risk. But I'm beginning to think that if someone's going to sit down with you and go through a goal setting discovery session, if you will, a trust building session, and they actually reveal to you what they're doing and what they want to do, how are they going to find out that you can help them? What are the things you can do to help them achieve those goals? I guess you have to know the goals first.
Definitely have to know the goals and truly understand the client. So, and that sometimes takes time, and sometimes when it's building trust, and after you've proven your wares and you've delivered on some minor or some initial agreed upon items, then you get more trust and you get more opportunity. But I think where I can help out is I can do things at a strategic 50,000 foot view and kind of see like the forest through the trees. And at the same time, I'm also a foot soldier and can jump down onto the ground and get it done from a tactical standpoint. So if I'm dealing with the business owner or the CFO and they're looking in terms of here's our strategies, here's what we're trying to do from a savings standpoint, here's what we're trying to do from a people standpoint, we need you to assist in helping us achieve this strategy. That's ultimately where I want to go with clients. I'm not there with all my clients, but that's the total trust package where your client looks at you as a true business partner, a strategic business partner who has your best interest, that's an advisor, that's trusted, that will give you great advice, and they're able to take that and incorporate it into their business plan.
Well said. You got to get to be that at that trusted advisor level. And I suppose the only way to do that is let them know it's not about making money for you. It's about making money for them. So they're more than happy to part with money to pay you for that. Right?
I've always said my services more than pay for themselves, because a lot of times when people are demonstrating their pain points, several months later, we've incorporated practices and processes that shave off time and effort, eliminate the need of a position, or improve efficiencies in such a manner that whatever they're paying me and my team is pennies on the dollar to what they were paying before to do the same thing.
Exactly. All right, that's pretty good. Now I know what you do. Now I know how to refer you. This has been good for me too, because I have my preconceived notion of what an HR person does. You know, writes an employee handbook, writes engagement letters, things like that. Comes in, resolves disputes, but it's much, much more, isn't it? There's a lot more there, especially when you get into, I guess, larger companies that are growing. I guess handling growth is probably a big issue with, if that's somebody's goal to grow, is you help them grow carefully or properly.
Properly. I mean, you're never going to stand in the way of what the company is going to do. They're going to do what they're going to do. But as far as preparation, making sure that we have enough time in advance to hire properly, have this infrastructure in place. Depending on if we're acquiring other clients, are we preparing them as to the culture that they're going to be joining? So there's a lot of little nuance that can ensure that the transition goes smoothly or can cause everything to really have a meltdown. So it's important whenever somebody is going through growth that there is a or process in place and a well thought out strategy.
I think you can be very helpful to a lot of companies I know. In fact, I'm going to put this back up because I want people to see this. If you need any of the, if you're growing or if you have a plan, you have made goals, you need to talk to Milan, and here's how to get a hold of them. OneSourceHRRisk.com or 407-998-5010. Well, that was really great. I'm glad you joined us today. This is the kind of stuff that I think people want to hear on I'm Calling HR, is why you call HR. So
it's been my pleasure.
So, by the way, folks, before we sign off, just want you to let you know, please contact us, email us at info@employernomics.com, use our website contact form, call us there, put it on our Facebook page or our LinkedIn page, or just grab me at a networking event. By the way, I'll be at the Veterans Beer Club Thursday night at Castle Church Brewing at 7 o'clock. We're doing a Toys for Tots things. Everybody's welcome to come join us. But send us questions, suggestions, and also if you'd like to be a guest. We have some slots open in the future, so we could work you in somewhere and you could be a guest on this podcast. Any closing thoughts, Milan?
Always be open-minded and positive.
Open-minded and positive. All right, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you soon. We don't have anything scheduled for the rest of the year, but after the first of the year, we'll be resuming with more, hopefully, content that's as good as this. Thanks. Wave Happy New Year, Wave Happy New Year.